Hi friends, and welcome back to Beloved Reviews. If you're new here on this channel, I share with you delightful, family-friendly, and faith-based movies and television shows. Happy Tuesday, y'all. Let me know in the comments, what are you watching? What are you streaming? What have you been to the theaters lately to watch? Yes, please share all of that down below. But as for me, I am doing amazing. Super excited to be spending this time with you all. Been watching quite a few things, trying to get it together, like really trying to get it together. Like I feel a little bit all over the place, but little by little I am getting a little bit more organized with the movies and shows that I'm watching, and trying to make sure that I get on here and talk with you all about it before I move on to the next big thing and forget something. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with our special feature today, which is titled Unexpected Grace. And you can actually find this film streaming right now on Hallmark Plus. But first, let me tell y'all what this film is about. Trying to find her place in a new town, Grace discovers a note from a schoolgirl looking for a friend. She writes back and sets off a chain of events that ultimately changes the lives of 3 people. Now, friends, this film, it was amazing. It was sweet. It was a beautiful cry. Probably like, girl, below, what in the world do you mean by that? It was a sweet sadness, I'm gonna say. Y'all know those types of films where you need your Kleenex and different things, but at the end, the end didn't necessarily go the way that you would have liked, but it went the way that it was supposed to go. And that's what I mean by a sweet sadness, a beautiful cry, okay? So it took me a minute. Like, I watched this literally last week, and I couldn't get on here and talk with you all about it because that's how strong it hit me. I needed time to be in my feelings a little bit. I needed time to kind of grieve and mourn, in a sense, for a particular character, and characters with an S, because it was a lot. It really was. But I assure you, you are going to enjoy this, but you must be prepared. I'm preparing you ahead of time. Yes, you're gonna need your Kleenex. Yes, it's one of those types of films, and this is what I struggle with, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and be honest here. I think that's probably gonna be the topic for Sunday coming up to what happens when God says no. And that is the thing that I kind of have a hard time with, even right now in the season that I'm in my life. I do have a hard time processing that when the answer is no from God, because one of the scriptures that are coming to my mind right now, all the promises in him are yes and amen. Yes, that's when it comes to his promises. But we all been there when we have asked God for something, and there are times when he answers, and he always answers, and there are times when the answer you receive is exactly what you wanted, and that's amazing. Of course, there's no problems there. But then there are times when it turned out amazing still, but it wasn't the type of amazing that you thought or what you had in mind. And that's still pretty good. I'm still good with that. I can process that, okay? And then there are other times, and I like to say it because in my mind, I take it as when the answer is no. And that is pretty difficult for me to and I'm just being honest, it is difficult for me to kind of swallow that pill, because it is a big pill. It is a big thing to sit with that and reflect on that and know that it was a no. And that's what we're dealing with here in this film. When it starts out, and this film was so subtle that it caught me off guard. I really didn't expect to watch the type of story that I end up beholding here. And that was why I had to sit with my feelings, my emotions for a while before I got on here and talk with you all about it. And when I mean for a while, I saw this last week, okay? So you can imagine how many days went by since then. That is how long that I had to process this thing and get a hold of my emotions where I can articulate it in a way that you will understand where I'm coming from and give you an idea of what you're about to step into if you have not watched this yet. And if you have watched it, let me know in the comments your thoughts. Where did it leave you? What were your feelings about this particular story? But anyways, let's go ahead and get into it, right? So here we're stepping into a beautiful mother and daughter relationship. That is what we get right off the bat at the opening of this film. Mom and daughter. Daughter is like a teenager, probably like 14 or something like that. And mom is mom, but you can tell she's also very close. She can, in a sense, be a friend as well, be taken as a friend. So they're like in this small eatery type place, maybe a coffee shop or something like that. And daughter is sitting here talking to mom. You can tell all things are good. They're in a good place and different things. I love them. I'm loving that. I'm loving the scenery, small town. And it's just pleasant. Overall, I'm getting a pleasant feel. However, this moment comes up. And I love this. I don't know. It's something about wishing wells. Not that I'm a girl, like I believe in wishes. No, that's not my type of thing. I know that's kind of like a fantasy type thing. But at the same time, I do enjoy the fun of kind of like making a little hope, throwing a little hope out there. That's what I call it, more of hope, a hoping well. But in this case, they do call it a wishing well in this particular movie. And Tony is the daughter here. She goes to the well and make a wish. Her mom gives her a coin and she throws it in the water and makes this wish and goes back to the table. And mom was like, okay, what did you wish for? And she ends up telling her mom that basically one of them is like for her and her dad, her mom and dad to get along, have a good relationship in a sense. And the other one is for a friend. And her mom was like, I can be your friend. And it's like Tony is like, it's not the same mom. Like she wants a best friend, someone she can connect with, do life with, journey with in this particular season of her life and going forward. And I totally understood that at that moment when I saw, I'm about to say when I heard, y'all, like I know her and everything. I probably do know you, Tony girl. But anyways, in this moment, and when that does happen, when she reveals that she wished for a best friend, I totally connect with that because even in a season of my life right now, I guess I can almost say that it's a prayer, but maybe not necessarily that because I'm not like talking to God about it day in and day out. Oh, I like a really close friend, a really, really best friend, something like that. There's nothing like that, but the desire is there. I certainly wouldn't argue against it. I certainly wouldn't mind if God chose to do that anytime soon. So I understood Tony in that area, like wanting someone you can truly connect with. But here's the interesting thing that she did. And I even thought about it when I saw it, but I was like, girl, beloved, this is not a movie. You are living in a real world. Can you imagine the results if you end up taking Tony's approach with what she did? So her mom got a couple of balloons and Tony wrote basically this note to her future best friend. She's believing God for a best friend and prayed about this thing. So she gets a balloon, a cupcake balloon, because Tony really loves cupcakes, into cupcakes and all of that types of thing, right? So she writes this note, tie it to the balloon, and basically this note to her future best friend. And she releases this balloon in the air, and in a sense hoping and believing that this balloon will somehow end up connecting her to her best friend. That, of course, at this time, she's never met, she doesn't know, but she's hoping somehow this is going to connect them, that God is going to use this. I love the faith to do something like that. It took a lot of courage. I was like, girl, wow. I was amazed at that type of faith, that leap of faith that she took to do this. And so I was like, okay, and y'all know my thoughts. You know what I was thinking? I was like, ooh, I wonder if I get me a balloon, I write a note and send it off into the sky. Will it end up connecting me to my best friend? God, no, I know that's being a little bit ridiculous because this is reality here. That thing could end up in somebody in the wrong hands, okay? But anyways, I love that. So time goes on, like some years pass. I would say about a couple of years later, after that balloon is released. And I'm thinking at that point when that happens, okay, God is going to answer her prayers, and we're going to still move into this whole happy-go-lucky type of pleasantry here. But something has happened in these 2 years when we find out 2 years has passed. And we see her mom, Noelle, here moving on with her life, all of that. But I'm like, but what happened? Did the best friend find a balloon? The whole time I'm thinking is, even as the film is progressing, is continuing on, the story is unfolding, I'm still thinking about that balloon being released. And did God answer Tony prayers? And what did that look like? Okay. But in all of this time, we're not seeing Tony. But yet, Noelle, the mom, she's still kind of like, you don't see no difference in her expression, how she moves or anything. You would still think that her daughter is there, still in the picture. And then, so I'm totally kind of confused, but I'm waiting to see what's going to happen. Right here, it's like I'm left in this mystery, and I'm on the edge of my seat because I'm a little bit scared. My emotions are in a mixed place right now because I want to see this prayer answer, how God answered Tony's prayer, but at the same time, something seems off, something seems wrong. But it's not so much, it's a subtleness about it that I catch, right? But it's not like this big extravagant thing that is shown here, that something big has taken place. The only thing we know is 2 years has passed. And so moving on, so y'all keep that in mind. Over here, way on this side, we have this little girl named Grace. Grace is 14 years old. So I'm thinking, as we're seeing Grace, that maybe this is the best friend here that could end up connecting with Tony. I don't know, but I'm here, right? And Grace is the only child of her single dad. And they moved to this town, the town of Noelle, and her daughter, Tony. And Grace is not in the best place. She's going through quite a thing. You can tell that she's, and probably I would say almost like in a one of those them rebellion years. And she's not necessarily getting along with dad. Like, seems like she's trying to push away from him, although he's trying to get closer and closer to her and volunteering, making her lunch, still in a way treating her like a little girl. I guess she's taking it as that. He's treating her like she's in elementary, and she's probably thinking to herself, Dad, okay, I'm 14 now. I'm kind of out of that stage of you making my lunch, but thanks anyway, you know. And Grace is very lonely. Like, she doesn't have any friends. This is a new school. Her dad kind of moved her out of her comfort zone and starting over. And he didn't even have the decency in her eyes to ask her about it. So she's kind of resenting him for that. Like, how are you going to up and move us to this town I know nothing about? I don't know these people. I don't have any friends. I'm not in any activities or anything. Her grades are slipping, and at her old school she was like straight A student. Here she's making C's, and she seems like she's just not in a good place. I feel so bad for her, but I'm hoping somehow that things turn around for her, that maybe she finds what she's looking for in a sense here. And so I don't want to get all into the details. I see we're 13 minutes in, but basically, I'm just gonna have to share this with y'all because y'all know, I can't help it. Grace and Noelle, I can't help but tell y'all business, okay? Grace went outside one day and noticed something in the tree. Yes, there was something in there. It looks like something strange. But she can't necessarily let it go. She tells her dad, asks her dad, what is that, Dad? And Dad agrees to get it out of the tree for her at some point when he have a little bit more time. Grace is like, I ain't waiting around for that. I don't know how long you gonna take, Daddy, okay? But this thing catches my eye, and she ends up reaching in the tree, getting the balloon. And it is the same balloon that Tony released 2 years ago, and she takes it inside, sits on her bed, and finds this note basically written to, basically saying, I would like a best friend. And that connects with Grace here because Grace really wants a friend right now. She's in need of a friend, someone to understand her, to get her, and feeling kind of lonely in this new place. And she noticed within this note, not only is it from a girl named Tony who sings about her age, but it also has Tony's address on there. And so she has her dad drop her off like the next day to the address that she finds in this note, hoping to meet her new friend. And she knocks on the door, nobody answers, nobody's home. At this time, Tony's mom, Noelle, was running, doing a little bit jogging, but she does come back and finds, because Grace leaves on there like a basket of goodies and lets her know that she found the note. And this really hits Noelle strong, because this is like, wow, after 2 years, God answered my daughter's prayers. Like, she cannot almost believe it. It almost like knocks her off her feet. She takes it inside and reads it. And you can tell this look of confusion on her face, like she doesn't really know what to do with this thing. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Where is Tony? Okay, God answer her prayers. Noelle, where is Tony? Where is Tony at? I want her to see this. Like, God answered her, but it is revealed later. Well, what ends up happening is, instead of Tony responding back to Grace, who left that basket of goodies on her door, Noelle responds back, sends her email. I believe it was the email, yeah. And so Grace gets it the next day, totally excited. She's like, wow, this is the mom. Well, she's thinking that Noelle is Tony's sister. She's like, finally, I found my best friend. And it changes her whole actions, her emotions, and how she's responding to her dad going forth, because you can tell just those words alone brought so much comfort, so much, like, it was such a blessing to her to know that, wow, I have a friend out there and I'm going to meet her at some point. And this gives her so much joy. And I imagine, y'all, I was totally thinking, like, what if I found a note like that attached to this balloon? And on top of that, Grace's favorite treated our cupcakes too. So it's so amazing how God brought this connection together. But what ends up happening is we find out from Noelle, the mom of Tony, she ends up meeting with Grace and her dad and let them know that unfortunately Tony is nowhere around anymore. Yes, God answered her prayers, and she was so happy that God brought this little girl and her dad into her life. But Tony passed away 2 years prior suddenly. It was something unexpected because she wasn't sick and none of that stuff at all at the beginning of the film. And I was like, and that's where the sadness came in for me. And I'm like, no, after you believe God to send you a best friend, and he answered, and you're not even here to see it. And so this whole other story, in a sense, is unfolding, where this healing like explodes here in this film, because not only is Noelle dealing with these wounds of having lost her daughter 2 years prior, but Grace is so much like her daughter, reminds her of Tony. Then on top of that, Grace's dad here. So all of these three people are brought together by this one prayer that Tony released into the air with this cupcake balloon, and to see God bring this healing about in such a beautiful, special way, it brings tears to your eyes. So many times watching this film, like, I was just tears rolling down my face, my cheeks, because it is amazing, like, the way God moves. And sometimes we don't understand it all. We don't know why he chooses to do what he does, when he does it, why he answers the way that he does answer. And sometimes it can seem unfair because we don't understand. We're not looking at it from his perspective. We don't have those eyes, and that's why the tears came from me. But at the same time, it brought so much healing and so much joy at the same time, because certain things needed to take place. God uses those things that we think are not great and he somehow turns it and make it for our good. And that's what we saw in this film. I don't want to get into details, even though I kind of got into details a little bit. But overall, like I said, you're going to have such a beautiful cry here. It was such a sweet sadness and a wonderful, delightful joy that I feel like we all need, and we all have to face that reality at some point. If you haven't faced it, or at least be aware of it, that sometimes yes, God always answers us, but it's not always in a way that we expect or the way that we feel like he should. But it doesn't mean that he loves us any less. So that's what I took away from this film. Such a beautiful story to get to know the characters of Noelle, Tony, even though we only had her for a season, Grace and her dad, and to see the way God moved in their lives, and they didn't even know how much they were hurting and how bad they needed that healing. So once again, this film is titled Unexpected Courage, streaming right now on Hallmark Plus. But before I leave y'all for today, we're going to go ahead and get into the scripture. And we are coming out of Psalms 135, verse 6. And it reads, "Whatever the Lord pleases, he does, in heaven and in earth, in the seas and in all deep places." So that's all I have for y'all for this video. Please let me know down below how you're feeling about this film. If you watched it, do you plan on watching it? What are your thoughts when God says no? Or do you even believe that he does answers no? Or do you believe that it's always yes? I mean, wherever you are, let me know, because this is definitely a conversation to be had. I really want to pick your brain about this, but we're probably going to get into more of that on our Picnic with Beloved, well, Picnic with Jesus and Beloved on Sunday. I think that's going to be our topic because I want to talk about it. And I just really want to talk about it with you all. So until next time, may the Lord bless and keep you both now and forevermore.